Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. I would like to say thank you for watching our video presentation from Group 4. Let me introduce myself. My name is Agatha Sinta and my friends, Elvina and Gabriela. In this presentation, we will discuss about silent way. Do you think silent can teach you? Which one should be silent during the teaching process? Student or teacher? Okay, let's have discussion about this. Before watching this video, do you already know the meaning of silent way? Not yet? Okay, silent way is a method of language teaching designed to enable students to become independent, autonomous, and responsible learners. The method emphasizes learner autonomy and active student participation. Silence is used as a tool to achieve this goal. The teacher uses a mixture of silence and gesture to focus student attention, to elicit responses from them, and to encourage them to correct their own errors. Pronunciation is seen as fundamental to the method, with a great deal of time spent on each lesson. The silent way, created by Cateno, that makes extensive use of silence as a teaching method. Cateno introduced the method in 1963 in his book with the title Teaching Foreign Language in School the Silent Way. Cateno was critical of mainstream language education at the time, and he based the method on his general theories of education rather than on exciting language pedagogy. It is usually regarded as an alternative language teaching method. The objective is a student to work as an independent language learner. We design to help beginning level students gain basic fluency in the target language, with the ultimate aim being near native language proficiency and a good pronunciation. The general goal of the silent way is they become independent, relying on themselves. An important part An important part of this ability is being able to use a language for self-expression. Students should be able to express their thoughts, feelings, and needs in the target language. In order to help them achieve this, teachers emphasize self-reliance. Students are encouraged to actively explore the language and to develop their own inner criteria as to what is linguistically acceptable. Basic premises for silent way. The method is based on the premise that teachers should be silent as much as possible and the learners should be encouraged to produce language as much as possible. The silent way assumes that learners work with resources and nothing else, as they are solely responsible for what they learn. Teaching should be subordinate to learning. Silence makes students to concentrate on what is to be learned.
Hi, my name is Gabriela, and I'm going to explain about the principles of the silent way. There are 12 principles of the silent way. The first one is start with familiar sounds. Second, give help only if absolutely necessary. Allow students to use their own knowledge of language learning. 3. Do not model the language for the students. 4. Allow students to tap out sounds to show what they have learned. 5. Students work on the language, not the teachers. 6. Teacher takes a backseat. The more you help, the less they learn. Praise is not helpful. 7. Transfer what students know already to new ideas. 8. Silence is used as a tool. The teachers becomes less necessary to the learning process. 9. Errors are important and necessary for learning. 10. Progress is more important than perfection. 11. Student attention to the teacher is important. 12. No homework as learning continue while we sleep. Learning hypothesis. The silent way shares a great deal with other learning theories and educational philosophies. Very broadly put, the learning hypothesis underlying Gatton's work could be stated as follows. First, learning is facilitated if the learner discovers or creates rather than remember and repeats what is to be learned. Second, learning is facilitated by accompanying or meditating physical objects. Third, learning is facilitated by problem solving involving the material to be learned. Theory of learning. Awareness is educable. As one learns in awareness, one's powers of awareness and one's capacity to learn become greater. The silent way thus claims to facilitate what psychologists call learning to learn. Again, the process change that develops awareness proceeds from attention, production, self-correction, and absorption. Silent way learners acquire inner criteria, which play a central role in one's education throughout all of one's life. These inner criteria allow learners to monitor and self-correct their own production. It is in the activity of self-correction through self-awareness that the silent way claims to differ most notably from other ways of language learning. It is this capacity for self-awareness that the silent way calls upon, a capacity said to be a little appreciated or exercised by first language learners. Teaching techniques. Silent is the key tool of the teacher in the silent way. Students do 90% or more of the talking. Being silent moves the focus of the classroom from the teacher to the students and can encourage cooperation among them. It is also frees the teachers to observe the class. Silence can be used to help students correct their own errors. Teachers can remain silent when a student makes a mistake to give them time to self-correct. They can also help students with their pronunciation by mouthing words with vocalizing and by using certain hand gestures. When teachers do speak, they tend to say things only once so that students learn to focus their attention on them. There are 4 teaching materials in silent way. The first one is the culinary roots. The culinary roots are wooden and come in 10 different lengths, but identical cross-section. Each length has its own assigned color. The roots are used in a wide variety of situations in the classroom. At the beginning stage, they can be used to practice colors and numbers, and later, they can be used in more complex grammar. For example, to choose preposition, the teacher could use the statement, "The blue road is between the green one and the yellow one." They can also be used more abstractly, perhaps to present a clock when students are learning about time. The second is the sound color chart, consists of blocks of color, with one color representing one sound in the language being learned. The teacher used this chart to help teach pronunciation, as well as pointing to colors to help students with the different sounds. The teachers can also tap particular colors very hard to help students learn word stress. Later, in the learning process, Students can point to the charts themselves. The chart can help students perceive sounds that may not occur in their first language. And it also allows students to practice making these sounds without relying on the mechanical repetition. It also provides an easily variable record of which sounds the students have and which they have not, which can help their autonomy. The third is the word charts contain the functional vocabulary of the target language and use the same color scheme as the sound color chart. Its letter is colored in a way that indicates its pronunciation. The teachers can point to the chart to highlight the pronunciation of the different words in sentences that the students are learning. There are 12 word charts in English, containing a total of around 500 words. The fourth is the Fidel charts. Also use the same coloring coding and list the various ways that sounds can be spelled. The syllabus in the silent way adopts a basically structural syllabus with lesson plan around grammatical items and related vocabulary. Gartner note does not provide detail as the precise selection and arrangement of grammatical and lexical items to be covered. There is 110 general silent way syllabus, but from the observation of silent ways, it is developed by the Peace Corps to reach a variety of language at the basic level of proficiency. Typically, the imperative is the initial structure introduced because of this is with which action verbs may be demonstrated using silent way materials. At least 15 minutes of every hour of instruction would be spent on pronunciation. A word that is italicized can be substituted for by another word having the same function.
Okay, now I'm going to explain about the advantages and disadvantages of silent method. For the advantages, students can be more confident and independent in learning because they must participate actively in the class. This method also can improve their vocabulary and speaking skills since the students learn and speak more. Students also can develop their self-exploration skills by discovering their own mistakes. In the silent method, it is lack of teacher's sound and the right pronunciation, so the students might be confused with the right pronunciation. It's also lack of teacher's guidance and answers because mainly used peer corrections techniques. So it will be hard for students to get the right answers. This method can be used only in a small group because it will be not effective if there are a lot of students since the teacher doesn't speak too much. It's difficult for teachers to evaluate students' progress in the learning process. And lastly, the atmosphere in class might be seem abstract and weird since the teacher doesn't talk but just pointing some words in the front of the class. The learner's role in this method are expected to develop the independence, autonomy, and responsibility, where the students can depend on themselves and their own resources in discovering new things and be responsible for their own progress. Independent learners are aware that they must depend on their own resources and realize that they can use the knowledge of their own language to open up some things in a new language. In this method, students learn cooperatively rather than competitively, where students are encouraged to work in groups and help each other but not to compete with others. Student-student interaction is important because student is more active, such as working in pairs, discussions, or asking and responding to each other. The teacher's role in silent method is as a neutral observer, neither elated by correct performance nor discouraged by error. Teacher silently monitors students' interaction and also efforts because teacher does not speak much. Teacher must be silent as much as possible and encourage students to produce language. Teacher facilitates the students' discoveries, and also teacher is the technician or engineer which is focused to the students' attention and provide them exercise to develop language facilities. For the assessment or evaluation, teacher never gives a formal test, but teacher assesses students' learning all the time. Teachers don't criticize students' behavior because it can interfere students' development. Teacher looks for the steady progress but not the perfection. And teachers may gain feedback from the students' error and also asking the students at the end of the lesson. So errors are necessary and important to help students learn. As the conclusion, the actual practices of the silent way are much less revolutionary than might be expected. Working from what is a rather traditional structural and lexical syllabus, the method exemplifies many of the features that characterize more traditional methods, such as situational language teaching and audiolingualism, with a strong focus on accurate repetition of sentences modeled initially by the teacher and a movement through guided elicitation exercises to freer communication. So that's all about our presentation. Thanks for watching, guys.